Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning into yet another episode of Fear the Queer.
A show that talks about everything on our gay agendas. I am Kyle.
And I'm Josh.
And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about something that has never happened to us, at least myself. We are talking about cancel culture versus accountability and what that means to us, what it means to our society. And Josh, have you ever been canceled?
I think at least twice from the show alone. In real life, maybe another 2 or more times.
I know I've canceled you like a bad subscription to Home and Garden, but I resubscribed when I knew that it was worth it. Let me work it.
Thank you. Flip it and reverse it.
Cancel.
Right.
But yeah, no. In all honesty, Josh has never been canceled by me. But I may have been canceled secretly by Josh. I don't know. I
feel like you have to be like a little bit more relevant in someone's life to be canceled. No, I'm kidding.
Are you saying I'm not relevant? You know what? I'm canceling you right now.
Right. It's just gonna be back and forth.
Click.
We're both canceled. Yes.
We're both canceled. You're canceled.
You're canceled, sis.
How you doing, love? Are you doing okay?
Good. Actually, I was
UK hun. UK hun.
UK hun. Sing song.
You ding ding dong. UK hung. Well, bing bang bong. If you aren't, for the audience, if you aren't watching Drag Race UK, you should be, because it's what? Enjoyable.
I was gonna say it's crazy.
It's wonderful. It's probably my favorite Drag Race in a long time. I like everyone on it. They're not self-produced, unlike us. But what I was gonna say is, you okay, hon? You got some news you want? Yeah, you got some news you want to share with us?
I do, actually. I am now completely vaccinated with the Pfizer vaccine.
Look at you.
Yay, it actually happened yesterday. I was able to get it through my work. The first shot was actually not bad. Like, it was just sore in my arm for the next couple days here. But I will say today, I am feeling it, sis. And it's not because I drank 3 vodka sodas last night without dinner. No.
Vodka soda in a pandemic?
In a pandemic? In a Panera?
In a Panera?
Yeah. No, in all honesty, I do feel like I got hit by a car because I'm pretty achy all over. But
to be fair, you did get hit by a car. The snowplow just came and was like, whoom.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a small price to pay to be able to hang out with my friends again. So I'm happy. Can't wait for you to get it. And then, knowing your luck, you'll be the last person in the US to get it.
Honestly, as long as healthcare workers, people with pre-existing conditions, the elderly, and teachers, they can get it before me. I do not care. Essential workers, because honestly, I'm essentially just a couch potato for the past year. So I'm doing fine. I'm not mashed about it. I'm not a tater tot. Yeah. So I don't feel bad about that, but we should cheers to that. Josh, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking some water because that's all I can really stomach right now.
Well, at least you got it out of your very distinguished refrigerator with water and ice in the door.
Right. Some of my favorite things.
Oh, sensual. You know what else is sensual? Coffee. I'm drinking some coffee.
Black coffee?
I actually have sugar-free vanilla creamer in it.
Ooh, she's fancy.
But just because, like, I like vanilla, I like creamer. Not a lot of it, but I like that little bit of like I don't know. I don't want to. I'm already bitter enough. I don't need just black coffee. But cheers to you and your vaccine. Cheers, queers.
Cheers, queers.
That sugar-free vanilla really says I'm 30. So before we get into the heart of our gay agenda today, we have another segment of Catch That Queer, in which we talk about someone who has positively affected the LGBTQ plus community in the past, present, or future. And because it is Black History Month, we have decided to highlight some Black activists and trailblazers who are part of the LGBTQ plus community.
It's such a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, and off the top, like, I'm just like rambling off the top of my head. Right. So this week, I've taken it upon myself to do the Catch That Queer segment, and I'm going to be doing Ruth Ellis. Josh, you know who Ruth Ellis is?
Mm-mm.
Well, let me lay it down for you. So Ruth Ellis is known at the time, she's passed away, is known as at the time is as the oldest living lesbian, and that was back in 2000. Oh my God! What? You weren't
Sorry.
ready.
I was not ready because I was just like, it just sounds like she's like a dinosaur. Like she's just like the oldest living lesbian. At 650 million years old, we have Ruth Ellis here.
Oh my God! Uh, She is not a fossil. And reminder, she's dead. So you're making fun of a dead person.
Well, I already canceled, so.
Oh, this is fitting. Canceled.
Mhm.
No, Ruth Ellis is not a dinosaur, but she was 101 when she passed away, which is old. I'll be there in about 3 years. And so Ruth Ellis, not only was she known as the oldest living lesbian back in the year 2000, she also did a lot of really good things for the LGBTQ community and the Black community. Now, Ruth Ellis was born in 1899 on
Damn.
July 23rd. I know. Uh, in Springfield, Illinois. So she was born
Oh.
in Illinois. Yes. And she is a Leo. Um, but
I thought you were going to say, and she's a lesbian.
and she's a lesbian. But Ruth Ellis, she kind of came to understanding her sexuality fairly early on. They say that she came out in 1915, which is she would have been like 16 or 17 at the time.
Wow.
But the thing is that she was reading a psychology book and was like, "Huh, I think I'm a lesbian." And then her family was like, "Okay," like they didn't. It was just like very, like I don't want to say non-caring. It just wasn't a big deal, which is always kind of nice to hear.
Right. Well,
When
because it was
families are
before.
accepting.
It was before the Second World War where things really turned conservative.
Right.
Yeah.
So Ruth lived in Illinois for a while until she met this woman, and her name was Cecily Babe Franklin, and they moved to Detroit.
Hmm.
So we're gonna go to Detroit, holla. And when she was in Detroit, she started working for a print company, and she actually had some background work in printing press in Illinois. So she had her own like understanding of what it was to like run a printing company, and ended up
Okay.
having her own print company
Wow.
in run out of her home in Detroit. So while she was living there, her home and Franklin's home uh, became a place that was kind of a safe haven for Black queer people at the time. They could go there. It was known as like a party house, but at the same time, they also provided help for food, help for shelter, help for hospital expenses. And because Ruth ended up living for so long, she became kind of this icon in the LGBTQ community, but also mainly in Detroit.
Right.
And so at 100 years old, they ended up opening in Detroit. It's called the Ruth Ellis Center. And it's one
Aw.
of just a few centers in the US that focuses on helping LGBTQ plus youth and young adults, especially those affected by homelessness.
Oh.
So it's just like a really great thing. It's great to know that her legacy is not forgotten. But
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people didn't know about her. I just learned about her maybe 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and obviously was super intrigued because I knew that she was from or not from Detroit, but she was like part of Detroit history.
Right.
And she passed away at 101 in the year 2000, and they opened up the Ruth Ellis Center in 1999. So just a year before she was born. So she was able to see it open at 100 years old. Could you imagine?
I was gonna say that is insane to me. The fact that she was 100 and like her legacy
Right.
is cemented like that, and in perspective, like during Stonewall, she would have been like around 70. That's insane.
Yeah. So she was always very outspoken, very open with her sexuality, helping the Black community, helping the LGBTQ plus community. So it's just like a really great thing that she did during her lifetime, and I just think we should highlight her. And if you want to like get more information about her, she does have a movie. Well, it wasn't like her movie, but she's in a movie, and it's a documentary film. It's called Living with Pride: Ruth Ellis at 100. So I don't know where you can watch it, but it's out there. So if you want more information on her, and if you want more information on the Ruth Ellis Center, you can go to their Instagram or their website. And
That's
something
really
else
cool.
I thought was something else I thought was kind of interesting, and I didn't realize is here in Chicago we have the Legacy Walk, which is in what was formerly known as Boys Town, now is referred to as North Halsted or NoHa. And up and down North Halsted, they have these like little areas that have different LGBTQ icons, trailblazers. Basically it's like a living version of Catch That Queer. And they have like Marsha P. Johnson, Frida Kahlo, James Baldwin, Sylvia Rivera. They have a lot of like people you may know within the queer history. But I guess also Miss Ruth Ellis is a part of the Legacy Walk.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we have to find her when it is safe to go out and not freezing temperatures.
That's true.
I know, but like how cool is that? So
that's cool. How did you discover her?
I discovered her because I think, you know me, I just kind of go into like a deep dive of like different like
Depression.
queer history and stuff. Well, she is swimming in there. Just call me Persephone because I'm the queen of the underworld. Depression. But she was highlighted, I believe it's this Instagram. It's a great Instagram that anyone listening or watching this should go check out. It's called LGBT History. And they highlight just all different kinds of people, activists, actors, politicians, different people who have affected. Literally, it's like an Instagram of Catch That Queer. And they had posted about Ruth Ellis. And I learned a little bit more about her back in June when Black Lives Matter protests had kind of erupted all over the country. And there was there were people in Detroit saying like, okay, these are places that you can give to that are run by Black people. And one of them was the Ruth Ellis Center. And I was just kind of like scrolling through and I was like, Ruth Ellis. And then I looked and I was like, oh, wait, she was a lesbian. Oh, wait, she was like really cool. And it just ended up being this great thing. And just like a random note, famous person who supports the Ruth Ellis Center is Wanda Sykes. Yeah, she's like outspoken, like, hey, this is a great community organization that you should be giving to and highlighting.
Is Wanda from Detroit, or does she just randomly know it?
I don't know. I don't know if she's from Detroit. I should look that up. But hey, I was focusing on Ruth Ellis this episode. Right. So Wanda, I love you. But
Wanda will have her day in the sun on Catch That Queer one day. Don't worry.
Psych. No, I'm just kidding. Wanda Psych. But yeah, that's Ruth Ellis. So
that's really cool. I've always wondered, like, with record holders like that, like
the oldest lesbian.
Like, do the other lesbians just like want to give her that title, so they just are like, oh, I'm just gonna die at 100 just so that way I don't upset that title?
I mean, maybe there are older lesbians out there, who knows, but I just love that.
I mean, you're close.
Oh, I wish. Oh, right. God. Wait, are you calling me a dinosaur? First you call Ruth Ellis a dinosaur, now you're calling me a dinosaur on the cancel episode?
I'm trying to think what dinosaur you would be. Maybe a Stegosaurus.
Really? I want to be a Triceratops.
Like Sarah from Land Before Time?
Yeah!
Oh, she's such a bitch! You're canceled because you want to be Sarah.
Listen, who would you be from Land Before Time?
Probably Petrie.
Either Petrie or you be Littlefoot's mom, because I'm about to kill you, bitch.
Because she dies.
And now, to get to the heart of our gay agenda, today we are talking about cancel culture. And what that really means in our society today. I feel like a lot of people have been talking about what cancel culture is. They've been using that word to really describe anything. I'm canceled, or oh my God, you're trying to cancel me. I feel like the GOP senators and Congress people have just figured out what it means.
What that means, yeah.
They keep using it to describe being kicked off Twitter or being dropped from different campaigns over racist tweets and other problematic things that they have tweeted. But even celebrities will say that they are canceled. But is it really cancel culture? Is it this red scare of the new millennia? Or is it actually just accountability that they're frustrated with when having to face their own issues? So today, Josh and I are going to be discussing how we feel about cancel culture and what it really means.
And why we are canceled.
And why we are canceled. And what it means to cancel someone. And is it even worth to do? Or is this just like a word that's being thrown around to describe really anything? Kind of like the word like triggered. Like people will overuse the word triggered when in reality, people are triggered by certain things and it should be taken seriously. It's like you almost use a word or a term so often that it kind of uses its I don't know, strength.
Well, I was gonna say people like become numb to like the concept really behind it.
And I'm wondering if that's kind of the reason that when people are like, well, they're canceled, nothing actually happens to certain people, especially if you are white and rich. Right. So I guess to kind of like do a jump off, Josh, where are you at with cancel culture? Are you pro cancel culture? Are you anti cancel culture? Are you
canceling me
still? Yeah.
Actually, do you actually know where the term canceled comes from?
No, I don't. I'm canceled.
Okay. Yeah, you're canceled because you don't know this. No, so I just found out about this recently. Apparently it's it's a reference from a movie. Kind of like how Bye Felicia became like a pop culture reference. Canceled actually comes from a 1991 Wesley Snipes film. I want to say it's called New Jack City, but it's actually kind of interesting because he's talking about a prostitute because he is a pimp and he's talking about she's canceled, just give me another one, like, and as if he's like dismissive of her. And then I think if I remember correctly, Love and Hip Hop, a few of the people who were featured on the show started saying it to each other, and that's where it became even bigger. So it's kind of interesting.
So like most things, it comes from Black culture and people just kind of appropriate or use it so much that it becomes mainstream.
Basically. That being said, even though it does come from Black culture, it is interesting because it's also kind of seen in a misogynistic sort of way because he's just like canceling one of his prostitutes as if she's just a body. So there's a whole lot of layers to where this term comes from.
Definitely.
But to answer your question about cancel culture today, I don't know. It's weird because I feel like, unfortunately, Kyle and I are no longer the age demographic where things are marketed to anymore.
We aren't?
I was like, it hasn't been that way for years. So I feel like when I view things online, like on Instagram or TikTok, and I hear like this person's canceled or this is canceled, I was just like, I don't even know what that is. Like, so that's one thing. Two, I also feel like I, for a long time, used to say I am against cancel culture. I'm not really for like, telling someone to go fuck themselves and never come back ever again and kill themselves.
Well, that's not true. I have heard you, well, not that, but I've heard you say go fuck yourself to people. So
just because I said it to you the other day.
I mean, and you know what? I did.
Right. Hey. Yeah. I don't know. It's complicated because there's so many gray areas, if that makes sense. So that's why I'm not really landing on any one argument or the other, because I don't even know what canceled to me means compared to what other people do.
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like social media, especially Twitter, is like such a hotbed for trying to cancel people when it comes to like looking up past tweets, looking up like past YouTube videos. Oh my God, people need to be canceled. And sometimes I get it. There's certain things that people have said and done that I'm like, why are they even in our dialogue right now? Like I'm thinking like Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star, just more like social media influencers that will be
Mhm.
like, oh my God, why am I being canceled? Well, you like said and did things that were like problematic or racist and you aren't being held accountable. I always feel like people should be given the opportunity to be held accountable and try to make amends. But when it
Mhm.
comes to accountability, like you can't just be like, accountability isn't just saying, I'm sorry I said these things. Done.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think that you need to go further to try to make things right. And instead of trying to look and be like, okay, well, how can I make things right on my terms? You need to look at either the person or the community that you've wronged and hear what they're trying to tell you that would make it right.
Right.
So,
I another thing too though, I will say is that sometimes I feel like with people our age or younger than us, like because we're so used to having like instant gratification with the internet and social media and all that stuff, I do feel
mhm,
like people just jump the gun really quickly and being like, you're canceled without even like letting the person defend themselves or say, hey, you're right. I did something bad. I apologize for it.
mhm,
Here's what I'm going to do moving forward. Um, so that is one thing I don't personally like. I don't like it when someone doesn't give the other person an opportunity to not necessarily defend themselves, but to give them an opportunity to say, I'm going to make amends for this, especially if it's
right.
something. I'm not trying to be an apologist here. See, even now I'm trying to like
Go
phrase
for it.
things. Well, I'm trying to phrase things so that way people aren't going to come for me after this, but I'm just going to be honest here. I feel like when a video or a tweet that pops up from like 2008 and it just so happens that this person said like a homophobic thing or did
Are
this
you
or
thinking
that.
of like Kevin Hart or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like stuff like that. Like I feel like people take it too far in the sense of like, oh, his career should be over. Why are people booking him? Like yada yada yada. Did he make a mistake? Absolutely. Even in those times, he shouldn't have been saying that. But
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of these people weren't even like adults in that time frame of like 2008, 2009 to know like what the political atmosphere was, and people used to say that stuff all the time. Like I just watched an old episode of Big Brother the other day, and they used the R word 3 times throughout the episode, and that was
Mhm.
like from 2005, and that's on a
Yeah.
network television show.
Mhm.
So it's just like I feel like people need to start understanding more of like where the context of the environment that it came from, and why Kevin Hart might be actually just one of the many victims of just being able to just say what they want because there was no accountability back then. You know.
Yeah. I get that. And I guess Kevin Hart is a good example of to kind of go with this because so many people were so quick to cancel him. Here's the thing. I don't think Kevin Hart is funny. I never thought Kevin Hart was funny even before we found out about homophobic tweets. So that aside, I'm trying to use this with a perspective that I already don't like him. But here's the deal with Kevin Hart for me is he apologized on the Ellen show and as we all know, Ellen is the only person who is able to accept apologies for the LGBTQ plus community. I'm saying that as a joke. Don't cancel me. But he said he apologized for those tweets, and I do think that our society does have uh definitely like a harder uh lens and a microscopic view when it comes to Black people
Hmm.
and when they fuck up as opposed to white people and when they fuck up. I feel like white people get a lot of passes, and I say that as a white person. But so I do think that Kevin Hart was very harshly treated in the media because of homophobic tweets and things that he said. Now me saying that, he also has gone on to do comedy specials and other talking points where he has come off as homophobic. since those tweets. So it wasn't just kind of a one-off that he tweeted something rude. This is kind of, dare I say, who he might be.
Right.
So for him to be like, oh, Ellen, I'm not like that. Like, and she's like, oh yeah, I accept your apology. I think we all, understand. We don't want you canceled. I don't know. I think what would help with his account.
I was gonna say, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Really quick, I was gonna say, and then ironically, like 2 years later, she gets canceled herself. Like,
right.
So
right. Well, it makes sense to me. But like, I think if he was to say he was sorry, and the big hoopla was he had tweeted those things years ago, over a decade ago. Okay. He was supposed to host one of the biggest award shows, the Oscars, as we know. And ABC was like, you need to make an apology. And he was like, I already did that. Well, you may have apologized when those tweets came out, but they're talking now.
Right.
And again, I get it. You don't want to have to rehash an issue that you think that you've solved. But if a group of people is saying it's not solved yet, maybe you need to do it. Also, why didn't you just delete the tweets? That's what always bothered me was, if you're actually sorry about it, delete the tweets, apologize, and you're a fucking celebrity. Like, make a donation to like an LGBTQ organization in LA or something like that. But that's what accountability is you need to make things right. So do I think Kevin Hart should be canceled forever and ever? No, I don't really care that much about him. Do I think Ellen should be canceled? No, I don't really care.
No.
But it just feels like saying sorry and then doing nothing else doesn't really solve anything. And that goes for politicians too. I don't know why we don't hold people making our laws in to a higher standard of who they should be as humans, but they're all garbage. They're all proving me wrong.
Well, I was gonna say, I feel like politicians are on a totally different level to begin with, because they go into public office knowing that this is what their job is supposed to be doing, is to be upholding laws, finding justice for people that they want to represent. And if the group of people that you're representing to be like, fuck this is not what I want, and you're just like, sorry, I can't hear you over my millions of dollars here. Right. It's just like, yeah, then you should be held accountable. And for me personally, I'm more okay with people being more harsh with politicians, because they actually have more people's lives in their hands than Kevin Hart does.
Yeah, and he has tiny hands. He's very little. He's not holding anyone's lives in his hands.
Right. But another thing too, is the fact that one thing about celebrities that I feel like is a little bit different than I feel like politicians could actually fall into this category too, is the fact that there's always the Hollywood story that has been like proven true time and time again, is that everyone loves a comeback story. Everyone loves when someone like faces adversity, and then like something bad happens, they go away for a while, and then they come back. There's this great narrative of them like, I've learned my lesson, or I've become a better person, or I'm now like, changed my ways. And then we go on and like give them like a bunch of awards and like applause for basically just growing as a human being.
Showing up. Yeah.
Right. So I also feel like that narrative, the fact that like so many people do feed into that, also kind of plays into cancel culture, because if someone is doing good for so long, I feel like a lot of people will naturally just try to find any way to bring that person down,
Yeah. Are you thinking of anyone like in particular?
I am actually thinking of Michael Phelps.
Oh, for the weed?
I was gonna say, do you remember back in 2012 when there was such a controversy over him smoking weed?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like there was like huge news articles. There was people saying that he shouldn't be able to participate in the Olympics, which I'm just like, it's weed, honey. Like, but it just goes to show the political atmosphere back then around weed was totally different than what it is now, And so like for people like that, I'm just like, why are we canceling them? Like Michael Phelps is minding his own business, swimming 1,000 miles a day, just let him do it.
I mean, and it's interesting too, because like I think that you almost forget why people get canceled sometimes. You're like,
Mhm.
why haven't I seen them in the news? Or why haven't they been in any movies? And then you're like, oh, because people just decided they were done. I think that, like, I feel like Michael Phelps was wrongfully canceled. I don't think he was completely canceled like some people, because he still has a career. He's white, he's straight, for what I
Mhm.
know. I don't think, it's the end all be all of people being canceled. But then you have people who, I'm thinking about like the Britney Spears doc on Hulu that came out.
Framing Britney
And
Spears.
yeah, Framing Britney Spears. For anyone who hasn't watched it, watch it. Um, but watching that, it's like, why was society so quick to cancel Britney for literally existing? Um, was it because of her being overly sexual? Was it for her just being a woman in the media? Um, and then, we recently got our Justin Timberlake uh apology, but it's kind of like, fuck Justin Timberlake. Like, if he actually cared about what he did to Britney Spears and Janet Jackson, he would have apologized a long time ago and
Mhm.
be actively trying to help them. That's why I'm like, I mean, I don't care about canceling Justin Timberlake, because like, I don't, who is he to me besides like a washed up boy band
Right.
member? But he's not bringing sexy back to me. He can cry me a river over all of these things. I
Right.
really don't care. Um, but he's like not actively trying to do anything. Like, he's not like hashtag free Britney. He's not trying to help get her good lawyers. He's not trying to be a character, witness, nothing like that. Although I doubt that Britney would want that at this point.
Mhm.
But for someone who has been like obsessed with kind of trying to take her down for so long, for no reason other than they had a romance, and even that seems kind of, I don't know how
But he
legit that
profited
romance
off of
was.
it. He
He
profited
profited
off
off
of
of the breakup, yeah.
Yeah. Like for so long, like he played into the narrative that he was the good boy who was cheated on. Um America ate it up because,
Hmm.
back in the day
Sexism.
everyone hated women. Um
They still do. They
so
still hate women.
yeah, I was like they still hate women. But it's just like I don't know, it's just for Justin Timberlake to just say like I'm sorry in the apology notes app or whatever that celebrities have. Um
Hmm.
do I think that he needs to be canceled? No. Like in all honesty, he hasn't been relevant in like a few years, so like
Well,
whatever. But like I do agree that like the accountability shouldn't just stop there. It shouldn't just be like
right.
a hollow apology. It should just be like Britney's in a pretty shitty situation right now. And
Hmm.
why haven't you done something to help if you truly cared about these women and truly said that you failed them?
Hmm.
I don't know. It's crazy
I,
to
th-
me.
I think it was just something his publicist was like, you should probably make a statement. Like, there's a lot of outrage online over you. You need to
Mhm.
make a statement. And Justin was like, okay.
Right.
Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel genuine. Again, I can't really speak on anyone else's genuineness. I don't know what's in their heart, but that's just like one of those things that celebrities think that they can get away with.
Mhm.
Um, do
In
you think of
your
like,
oh,
oh, go ahead.
we're both trying to
Go ahead.
interview each other. In
I'm ready,
your
Barbara.
yeah, in your personal opinion, when does it actually feel genuine to you when at a when a celebrity like holds themselves accountable?
Not often.
Yeah.
Um, I think that celebrities and politicians, people in power, people in the media, influencers, all that jazz. They can get away with a lot, and by simply making an apology, I also have to, we have to be aware as a society, like, who the apology is for,
Mhm.
um, and whether or not we even have the right to be accepting that apology. Because I think a lot of times, like, people, if a celebrity makes a racist comment, let's say, right, a white celebrity makes a racist comment,
Mhm.
they get called out on it, they apologize for it, right? They make an apology. If I read the apology and I go and I'm like tweeting about it, I'm like, wow, so and so made such a great apology. We should not cancel them. They're a good person. They know better, blah, blah, blah. That's not my apology. I'm not the
Right.
community that's being affected by this. Um, or if someone says something homophobic, or if someone says something sexist, it's like people need to be like, I was seeing comments on posts about the Justin Timberlake apology, and all like guys, like old white guys, were like, yeah, he shouldn't be canceled. Why are people trying to ruin it? That was a good apology. He should still have a career. It's not for you to
Right.
accept. So I think that there are times that celebrities, the few times I'm like, okay, maybe they're fine, um haven't even been like a big reason to get canceled for. Does
Mm-hmm.
that make sense? Like I can't even like, I think
Like,
it's just like being aware, like um and this isn't even canceling, but when Rihanna recently had her like second Fenty show, there's a clip where music was used in it, and it's like sacred to Islam, right?
mm,
And she didn't know that. Whoever did the music did not notify her, or they didn't know, whatever. But it created a little bit of a stir. Like, people were speaking out and were like, hey, this is like not cool. And she made a statement. She was like, I'm sorry about that. And um, again, that's not for me to accept the apology, but
right.
I, I don't know. You almost have to look at the person apologizing. Like
Mm-hmm.
Rihanna was like, you look at her vast world, her empire that she's doing. She's always like super diverse, always tries to include people. So it feels like, I guess it's like when people
So really quickly, do you
uh-huh.
see that little like pendant that's hanging off of her?
Yes.
So this was posted 3 days ago, and apparently this is actually a pendant that is sacred to Hinduism.
Hmm.
Um, that apparently people also are calling her out for. Why are
So
you? Yeah,
like a cultural appropriation sort of thing.
right. And I feel like, granted,
Do you think
this
it's
is
harsher
just
because she's black
I I was just gonna say, I know this sounds crazy,
and a
but it's just
woman?
like I feel like because she is a person of color and a
Hmm.
person or and a woman, like people tend to just be like, hey, that's not cool, bitch. But then like, Kylie Jenner can wear like all the shit and like hardly anything happens to them. Like, sure they get called out every once in a while, but they
Hmm.
nothing happens to them at
Well,
all.
and it's almost like, I want you know what's interesting is, like, if marginalized groups like people of color are calling out Kylie Jenner for appropriating part of their culture and nothing happens, is that because the media and society doesn't listen to marginalized voices, especially when their voices, because they are people of color? I think that's something that is important, is white people take notice of that, and
Hmm.
white people should be talking about, like, yeah, Kylie Jenner shouldn't be appropriating black culture, and listen to
Hmm.
these black voices that are
Hmm.
saying it, um as opposed to just like ignoring the issue.
Yeah. Sorry, I just thought
It's
of an
kind of like,
example.
using your privilege, I guess,
Right.
to, I don't know.
I just thought of an example that
Yeah,
reminded me of how people of color tend to be affected more. Ooh, I just thought of a second one. Okay, I'm
go
getting
for it,
excited
go
now.
for it, go
Okay,
for it.
so do you remember Nate Turner, the guy who made Birth of a Nation back in
Yes, I do.
2015?
Yep,
Okay,
yep. Hmm.
so remember the narrative of the fact that everyone thought that this was going to be a huge Oscar contender? Like everyone's
Yep.
just like, oh my God, this is going to be a new reckoning. Comes out, he raped a girl in college.
Hmm.
He was then held accountable, and the platform that the film was supposed to have just completely dropped.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard from Nate Turner again. So,
Mm-mm.
same year, Casey Affleck, who
Oh.
won Best Actor for Manchester by the Sea, was also accused of sexual misconduct.
Hmm.
Um, and he got the highest award an actor can get. So it is quite interesting how Nate Turner, a black man,
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, I do think that he should be held accountable. I'm not saying that, but why
But
wasn't
Casey
Casey Affleck?
Affleck should also be held accountable.
Yeah. My second uh my second example is Aziz Ansari.
Hmm.
Um that was kind of just like a fucked up situation in general.
Yeah.
For those of you who cannot remember, a woman came forward who claimed that Aziz had sexually assaulted her, and then she posted it on a web, or her interaction with him on a website, and a lot of people's opinions after that was just like, that doesn't seem like sexual assault. That actually just seems like you just had a really bad, awkward date. But the
Mhm.
repercussions for Aziz was still big. You know,
I
he
mean,
had,
they still are big. I
right.
haven't heard from him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So it is interesting how people of color tend to be more affected by cancel culture than anything else. I never thought of that until now.
Yeah, I definitely think people of color are negatively affected by cancel culture. So I know, like Barack Obama, he made a statement about like how cancel culture is terrible, and part of me is kind of like, okay, Mr. Obama, you just don't want to be canceled for anything bad that you may have done during your presidency. I get that. But also he is a person of color, so like people are going to hold him at a higher or more strict uh viewpoint. When you have Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump and all these other white politicians doing and saying terrible things and they have not been canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Canceled.
Right.
So I guess what's interesting, maybe we're both kind of realizing this as we talk, is cancel culture really only is relevant if you are a marginalized person.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a straight white guy, especially one with money, um, you can kind of get away with it.
Not even a white guy. I would even say a white woman, because I'm thinking J.K. Rowling.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh,
she's
God.
fine. I was gonna say, like, after all the terrible things that she has said about the transgender community,
Oh,
she's
she's a
fine.
huge turf. She's a
Yeah.
huge turf.
But yeah, I was gonna say, but at the end of the day, she's fine. She's still sitting up there with her billion. She's not banned from
Mhm.
Twitter. She's, you know, still tweeting away some terrible things that just happen to be on her mind and she thinks she needs to share with the world. Um, it
And
also
truly
really,
dangerous things, like really dangerous things that people like about gender and about trans people, that if people who are fans of Harry Potter and they just happen to follow J.K. Rowling um on her social media, if they saw that, they may, without researching, believe the nonsense that she's posting.
mhm,
It's just really disheartening.
it is. I was actually very happy and impressed with all the people who worked on Harry Potter who came forward and been like, actually, JK, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Especially Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh yeah.
But he's precious. He's always been such a great ally. um, yeah. So I guess where do we move forward with cancel culture? And why is it that I'm canceled, the person of color, and you're not, Kyle?
I think we just explained it. I I think you know, I will never be, this is a good, I think this is our ongoing gag and our running joke of you're the one who's canceled all just came to a head this episode, and we have proven that the person of color on this podcast, Josh, is canceled, and the white person, Kyle, is not canceled.
And it will be that way till the end of time.
It'll be that way till the end of time. We just need your accountability. I think that, I think people saying you're canceled or cancel culture, yeah, it is kind of stupid.
Mhm,
I would love to see people being held accountable, because I think that justice in this country is lacking.
mhm.
I don't think that, I think that's where the issue comes from, is really people are like, oh, they're canceled, and then they just kind of go away. They just like, go into the background with their tons of money or their fame or whatever it might be.
Right.
Um, I think
And do they
people,
actually even learn their lesson from that? Because I
no,
feel like
no.
all they do is just they're like, well, I guess everyone hates me. So you know, blame the world for being so fucking sensitive. But I'll be fine. I'm rich, you know.
Yeah, I mean, think about like those of you outside of Chicago or the Chicago drag scene, think of the reckoning with a former heavy hitter here in the drag scene this past June. Um, for those who don't know, there was racist and problematic allegations against some people in the Chicago drag community, and the Chicago Black Drag Council uh, wanted to hold them accountable. They weren't canceling them. They basically were saying, we just want you to do better, and here's how you can do better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this has actually helped me understand what accountability is because of the Chicago Black Drag Council. Because they were like, we're not trying to get rid of you, we're not trying to ruin your career, but you said some bad things, and
Mm-hmm.
you've done some bad things. So to make it right, here's the list of things that you can do to make it right. And nothing was unheard of. You know what I mean? And that person couldn't do it, and that person is, I guess, canceled.
Yeah.
Um,
By their own accounts, though, because
but right.
they were given a huge opportunity to make amends, and that would have been a great, like, thinking it from a PR narrative, that would have been a great comeback story for them. But
Right. And it's just, and I feel like I guess from here, I guess we just need to be more aware of who is getting canceled and why they're getting canceled.
And if it's worth the energy.
If it's worth the energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like certain people, I think there are certain things that people are canceled for that if there's accusations of
Sexual assault.
I was trying to think of a word, like literally anything that would be a trigger warning.
Right.
If you're accused of those things, you can be canceled. I'm okay with you no longer having a platform, no longer being given a platform. But if you say something stupid or you do something stupid, I say you need to make an apology. You need to figure out how you can be held accountable, what that community that you are apologizing to can, like, what you can do for them.
Yeah.
And if they say you can't do anything for them, then I guess it was just that big.
Right. Because I agree, because I feel like a lot of the minor things that could be handled simply by being like, hey, this isn't cool, please make amends by doing this or this. One is an opportunity for them to hold themselves accountable. Two, I feel like psychologically it actually kind of works better because you're not coming from like a place of attack where it's just like, you're disgusting, I hate you, die, bitch. And if
I love it when you talk to me that way.
Yeah. And if you want to like improve on the world, I hate to say this, but you do have to kind of come together in a lot more ways than you think, if that makes sense.
No, I agree. I think most things in this life,
but that's just like minor stuff, not like sexual assault.
Yeah, definitely. I think that like most things, it's coming to a middle ground to kind of understand, like, maybe not even, I shouldn't say a middle ground. I don't know if it's necessarily compromise, but for minor infractions or things that I guess are deemed minor, because to some people they are major things that are said and done, right? But it's like, where can we go from here? Like, can we not get canceled? Is someone not going to be part of the cancel culture? Is someone going to be able to be held accountable? And I think it goes kind of like a situation by situation basis. I don't think that it's like across the board.
Right. Well, I mean, if you think about it too, cancel culture has been around since the dawn of time. Like, I'm thinking of like a specific example, which maybe is too much of a correlation, but like Salem witch trials, like they literally
these witches are canceled.
I was like, they literally cancel women and then just like set them on fire. Like,
I would even say, oh my gosh. All right. This is a new segment called Religious Trauma and how we're dealing with it in a podcast.
Yeah.
But I would even say, if you want to come from a biblical standpoint, was the first cancellation Adam and Eve? Did God cancel Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden?
Well, I think he canceled Eve more than Adam. But again, it just goes to
she's a
show
woman.
Privilege. Yeah.
She's a woman.
She was fucking literally hungry.
Well, she wanted the tea.
Yeah.
The devil's like, you want knowledge? And she was like, what's the tea? And he was like, get ready.
Right. Do you ever wonder if like Eve was actually like more queer than the Bible tries to let on? And that's why like
I mean,
that's why she was so punished by everything.
I think all biblical characters are a little bit queer. This is a whole nother topic that we can explore sometime, but the whole story of David and, is it Jonathan? David and Jonathan. Do you know that story? Or did you block that out of your Catholic upbringing?
I was just thinking of David and Goliath, but I don't know who
David and
Jonathan
Goliath.
is. I don't know who Jonathan is.
Okay, well, that's a story for another time.
Oh, okay.
But it's basically they were very close friends. But could have been
Oh.
maybe, who knows? The Bible is full of
Well, also, like,
conversation pieces.
well, I was gonna say, and Joseph and his like fabulous coat, like the youngest son just flouncing around, like being all fabulous and honey and whatever.
And the
And then
12
his
brothers canceled him.
yeah, they canceled him because they're just like, he's too fabulous. We can't have this.
Fabulous. You're
Yeah.
just thinking of like Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Isn't that what happened in the Bible? Everyone's saying
More or less.
Yeah.
There's like a narrator with like a butch haircut and like a nice trendy like blazer. Yeah,
Right.
she was
Yeah,
feeling it.
she was there too.
Of course.
Well, anyway.
Well, I don't want to cancel any red and yellow and green and gold and purple and I don't know all the words, but now I kind of want to listen to Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat because any dream will do.
Ooh.
And that was the first musical I saw as a child.
Me too.
Was it really? Were you
Yeah.
there? Were you at the Fox Theater in Detroit?
You were the dinosaur, so you were probably there in the biblical times.
Okay. You can't cancel me for being old.
Oh my god, can you imagine? Like,
If people were canceled for being just old, that's
Right.
ageist.
Right, I was gonna say, like, oldest living lesbian, cancel her.
I like that when I said the oldest living lesbian, you laughed so hard. I was pretty sure you were going to like sweat out the vaccine that was just put into you. Like it was going to just like come through your tear ducts.
Right, just the Pfizer vaccine just glistens my skin.
You would look dewier than you've looked in a while. But
Yeah.
maybe that's just the low grade fever that you now have.
Probably. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to
I-
give it. I was gonna say I want to leave it up to our viewers and listeners of what do they think about cancel culture? What are their opinions on what should be canceled and what's not worth our time anymore?
Right. There literally people are going to be like, it's not worth our time.
You.
This show. Yeah. Yeah. Canceled. About the fracking.
Mm-hmm.
You mean about the fracking? RuPaul?
Oh yeah, but I mean she's so rich at this point.
Yeah, if you're rich enough, you don't have to be canceled.
Yeah, it happens.
But I can't think of anyone in my real life that I have canceled. I think that's just called like not being friends with them anymore.
I was like, I have a few.
Of course you do.
Right? I was like, I have a few people I'd cancel, but I'm also an Aries, so it is what it is. All right. This is a lovely discussion about cancel culture. Kyle, where can people find us?
Well, we're going to be held accountable, and that means you can find all of our personal secrets or vendettas or just our Instagram posts on Instagram and Facebook. We are at Fear the Queer Podcast. You can also be checking us out on the YouTubes because we're there now. We're young and hip. YT, short for YouTubes.
Right.
Or Young Thing, which we
you
are.
cancel us on one platform, we'll just move to another.
Which makes sense. How can they listen if they're listening to us? How are they listening to us?
Well, if they are listening to us, they're listening to us either on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or SoundCloud, which I will say, I kind of want to hold Apple Podcasts accountable here. So, yeah. So when we share the podcast with people, you can have a clickable link sent to the stories through SoundCloud and Spotify, which is really nice because that way people could just like click on it and just go straight to the page here. But Apple Podcasts does not do that. So I want to hold them accountable and be like, where's the shareable link, sis?
I don't want to have to cancel Apple Podcasts. I really don't.
I don't either.
My preferred way to listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Sponsor us.
Right. Really? Even though you have Spotify?
I listen to Spotify too. I listen across media. I'm just like, any way I can get it. Just give it to me.
Just give it to me.
How can people not contact us though?
Snail mail, because if you're living in Chicago, you're not going to get mail anytime soon because of the winter storms. We don't check our Gmail account. And I also would not suggest sending any passenger pigeons to us because they're actually all extinct.
I'm also terrified of birds, so don't be doing that. I don't want to see a pigeon. But
I will
I'm
cancel
not.
you.
Don't. Well, yeah, I'll cancel you if. Oh my god, if someone came up to me with a bird, canceled.
Canceled.
Canceled. Caw canceled.
God.
Birds of a feather need to flock together and hold others accountable. But for me, y'all are canceled. I can't stand birds. I mean, I think they're
Ooh.
beautiful, but
Can you put that
I
like on a? Can you put that on like a stitching that I can hang up in my kitchen?
what did I just say? I don't know.
Birds of a feather flock together and hold each other accountable.
That's kind of cute. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
All right.
certain birds.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. As always, I'm Josh.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're Fear the Queer.
Fear the Queer.
Bye.
I'm flying away like a bird. I'm the very thing that I hate. Oh.
I was going to say, it explains a lot about you.